All right, testing, testing. Let me know if y'all hear me clear. If you hear muffling in the back, it is the furnace because being in the Midwest, it is very, very cold, and I am not about to sacrifice the lack of warmth. So I do want to say, please forgive the sound in the back. It's very cold. It's going to be colder. So make sure you guys stay warm. I'm going to make sure everything works. Sound in the back. All right, good, good. Everything is good. What's going on, everybody? This is Chris Classic with another episode of the Take It Home podcast. Um, I was supposed to do one last week because I'm trying to do one every once a week or whatever like that outside of car vlogs and wrestling footage and matches. But I decided to just do one right now because I'm off and I felt like why not? So I know that there are a lot of wrestlers who wrestle and they do ask a wrestler a question or ask questions to a wrestler. So I felt that I should do it too. I've seen it on TikTok. Shout out to Michael Wayne. Shout out to a lot of people. They get questions and some answer some don't answer any. But I decided I want to do that too. I had a little time today, so I wanted to do that. So before we get into it, you guys, I always tell you guys what I have going on. Um, Less than 2 weeks away, February 1st. 15, the takeover. The board and C3 Ultimate Wrestling presents the takeover. Dyer, Indiana. So make sure you get your tickets on Eventbrite. They are cheaper on Eventbrite than at the venue. So make sure you get your tickets. It's going to be a big event. Not big on what the board does and stuff like that, but they got this show together. The matches are announced and promos are on the C3 Ultimate Wrestling channel, which you should subscribe to as well as the Take It Home podcast. So make sure you subscribe to the Take It Home podcast and make sure you also subscribe to C3 Ultimate Wrestling. Also, 2 weeks from February 1st is February 15th. Now and forever, the 15-year anniversary of Now That's Wrestling. It's going to be at the Russell Dome. That's in Neenah, Wisconsin. So make sure you get your tickets for that as well. It's going to be very, very dope. So, get this off as I'm still trying to get used to setting up. Let me get my logo ready. Yeah, 1 second. There we go. All right. There we go. All right. Yep. Hope you guys are. Y'all hear my daughter in the back? Hold on, y'all. Sorry about that. She asked me about the orange. Y'all know I had to, you know. But sorry about that. Please forgive me about that. I usually don't like to do mic interruptions like that, but hey, man, priority is priority. So yeah, like I said, I wanted to do a ask a wrestler a question. So um, shout out to RSHAUN from Critically Drinking. He sent me some a couple weeks ago, and I always meant to go live about like a few of them. But I had, like I said, I had time today, so I have a few. I don't have all, but I probably will do like a part two, depending on how great and how good this goes. Shout out to Arshawn from Critically Drinking. Shout out to Kevin Young Senior from Yellow Pill as well. Make sure you subscribe to both of their channels. But I'm going to go into his questions first. Some of his questions first, so then I'll intertwine with Okay. Yeah, she definitely her opinion. She was hungry for an orange. She wanted to have something healthy. I don't know what's wrong. Why this thing's so uneven? Maybe it's because of my hair. But anyway, all right, we're gonna go into Arshawn's questions first. A few of his, and then I'll answer. Okay. All right. This was actually a good question that he asked, so I will answer this one first. How does faith impact your product and performance? So you guys know that I always give honor and glory to God, you know. And when I say God, I'm talking about God who sent his son to die for our sins and left the Holy Spirit for us to be on one accord and move as one body, the one in the Bible. That's the one, because a lot of people have their own version of what God is, their own interpretation. So we're talking about God in the Bible. We're talking about the Christ. We're talking about the Messiah. We're talking about the one some call Yeshua, Yahweh, stuff like that. So um, it's very faith is very important to me in my product and my performance, because even with C3 Ultimate Wrestling, I call it a Christian company, if that makes sense. I call it family friendly, and sometimes that, I don't want to say strikes nerves, but some people are, they are very weird with that, because wrestling is deemed as something that is very violent. It's very violent to some people. Some people don't see it as family friendly, and some people see it as excuse me, a blood sport. So, uh, like I said, with wrestling, and I've said this in one of my lives. Um, Shout out to you, Whitley, and everything you continue to do. God bless you with love and peace. So, I consider wrestling. I'm gonna cut my mic down a little bit. I consider wrestling a service. I consider it a service. So like something that can get the community together and things like that. Something that is very entertaining and can get families together and stuff. Sometimes people want to go to the park, the fair, they want to go to Chuck E. Cheese and things like that. But when they see a flyer for like professional wrestling, and sometimes, especially with like WWE and other companies, like their tickets are crazy. Our tickets are very fair. They're, in my opinion, and then we do like deals and things, because we do want something for families to get together and stuff like that. I can do understand why people have a reserve on it, but I always say like give it a chance. So like sub to our YouTube and stuff like that, and see what they can provide. Also, being a man of faith, being more personal about it, is that I'm actually a deacon at my church, KCIM, Kingdom Crusaders International Ministries, and shout out to Pastor Jeff. I've been that for about 6 or 7 years, and you carry yourself a certain way, not only just as a man of faith, but just a man, period, and even as a wrestler. I'm very big on calling myself a professional wrestler. So I carry myself professional, try to be there on time, have great forms of communication and things like that. And how I carry myself in the faith is also very important. Some people say I'm always smiling or things like that, or I have a positive attitude, and I give all that to God. I try not to sweat on things that I can't control. And sometimes faith requires patience. you know, my pastor's talking about the 4Ds: determination, devotion, dedication, and discipline. And all four of those are very important in my journey. I know a lot of people are saying they're trying to find a journey. The journey never ends. So even with that, I pray before I drive. I pray when I get there. I pray before my match. I pray afterwards, and I pray for a lot of the wrestlers and everybody to make it safe. Now, some people do not believe, and obviously they have their right to not, as much as I have mine too. But it's all love, because God is love, and I want people to remember that. As far as my performance, I try to make sure it's very kid friendly with certain things. Now, when we go live here on the Take It Home podcast, it gets crazy. So I do not recommend the kids to look at the lives, but the other content, the car vlogs and stuff like that, I do. And I'm not saying it off of my behalf, but it's what some of the other wrestlers, not throwing them under the bus, they know who they are. So that's the crazy part. Um, yep. I guess I'm still trying to get used to this uh, app. All right, Trey, what up, Trey? Shout out to you, my brother Goliad, my brother from Goliad. Wrestling is a sport just like football. It brings people from different backgrounds together. Yes. Now, my homie Trey, I'm from Texas, right? So, coming up here, it wasn't for wrestling. It was, trying to make a life. And like I said, I thank God for this, finding my wife, having kids, and also job, and even wrestling and things like that. I had to come all the way up here to be a wrestler. It's crazy how God works. We just sometimes have to have faith and patience. I came up here and I didn't know what I wanted to do in life, especially being a man. Sometimes men, we have to be sufficient, self-sufficient on ourselves more than women. Now, that's as far as I'm going to go with that. I'm not trying to argue with nobody or whatever like that, but it is what it is. But going to it with that, my wife is the reason why I wrestle, because she wrestled before she even met me. So I also want to give her a shout out, because I'm sure she's gonna watch this or whatever like that. But wrestling definitely brings people together. Even when they find out that I'm an independent wrestler, they'll be like, "Man, I didn't even know there was a such thing as that." They'll be like, "Oh, well, I thought that it was just WWE and AEW and stuff like that." But it definitely brings people together. Training can be rigorous. People get injured. There was a lady praying for her. She broke her leg yesterday at a wrestling event live, and it was nasty. And these kind of things happen, I don't use the F word when it comes to it. I know a lot of people like to say that, and a lot of people want to pull the curtain back and think they're part of the locker room, but that's just not the case when it comes to certain things. I'm just waiting on the show close to me. I'm trying to move around, but where we're at and how we're trying to do things, we're trying to make sure we are at a great spot that we can move. Like, sky's the limit, but at the same time, I have to prioritize a lot of the stuff. So that's crazy. She calling me right now. So Trey says, stay true to yourself, your beliefs, and your message. Appreciate you, brother. God bless you. You already know that I love you, man. You pray for CM Punk's downfall. I didn't pray for CM Punk's downfall. I do understand why people feel a certain way about him, and I'm not going to sit here and say like I agree with everything that he has done and or said. But the thing is, he brings in a lot of money, and if you're wrestling and trying to have a wrestling business, you understand that he makes good money and good drawings and things like that. And, a lot of people would have never thought he went to WWE, like Drew, who prayed for his downfall, which was still one of the craziest promos of all time. Praying for somebody's downfall is crazy. Robert Brown, it's been a long time. What's going on, man? Lafayette, Indiana, in the building. What's happening? What's up, man? God bless you, brother. Yep, Columbus, Ohio. I gotta go out to Ohio one day. So, all right, I'm gonna definitely get back into the question for RSHAUN. Make sure you guys leave questions too. But yeah, the faith is very important to me, and I prioritize it. So that does mean that I do go to shows. Some are not faith based. Some are just entertainment, and I don't mind doing those kind of shows or whatever like that, because some people's walk in faith or lack thereof, they're not public with it, and it's a private thing, and that's their choice if they want to do that kind of thing. But like I said, the way I see wrestling as a person of faith, walk with Christ, is service and serving, because as believers and followers, we are supposed to serve one another as well. And I think that wrestling can bring families together, get people's minds off of a lot of things. So it's a very beautiful thing. And I do thank God to blessing me with this, and doing this for 13 years is very important and very great to me. Shout out to Steve. People are mad at CM Punk because he doesn't do coke. That's funny, because he's a Pepsi man. Yeah, people like I said, if people want to call CM Punk toxic, sure. I'm not going to sit here, like, I don't know these people personally, but I go off of what I've seen. And even with the brawl out, fallout, yes, I still call it that. Obviously, it was some things that was wrong on all sides of the spectrum, and then even other things he did, he was wilding for. But at the same time, WWE is not like gonna punish him for something else that he did if they can make money off of the situation. And now look at what he's doing. He's back as one of the top stars. So that's something to think about as well. I'm a believer too. No shame in your game. God bless you, sir. So mad at CM Punk. I mean, but yeah, so that's how it's important, and I prioritize it not only just for wrestling, but also like everyday life, and even like as a deacon, trying to be more into being the deacon and the armor bearer that I'm supposed to be. I'll be transparent with that. Is that sometimes that we do have to analyze ourselves and what we do and what we say we are, and then not just having the title, but also upholding the title. You get what I'm saying? So that was the first question. What's it like to travel as a wrestler? I like this question. Now, I am a traveling wrestler. There's places I've went to that I've driven to. I've never flew to a show to wrestle. I live in Indiana, so I drive to Wisconsin a lot. Wisconsin could be from 3 hours and 30 minutes to 4 hours sometimes, especially if it's snow. It can go to 5 hours. I remember 2 years ago, um, I took my boys with me. It was like a 5 hour trip, and it wasn't supposed to be because it was so much snow. Um, we were driving slow. It was so much ice on the roads. We saw somebody spin around. You would have thought that somebody was playing Mario Kart and that blue shell hit them. But other than that, that was like the longest I've driven. Like we've driven in snow before, and it's just one of those things that like happens like in the Midwest. Um, I don't mind traveling, and I think that's because my dad he used to drive a lot when we were in Texas. He drive a lot, and sometimes I sleep, and sometimes I look at the stuff. So like, I don't know, me driving for hours for a wrestling show, it does remind me of my dad a little bit. Sometimes it's just one of those things that you cherish. Sometimes I'm driving 3 hours, 4 hours for a match that's 10, 15 minutes. And that's just the reality of it. Now, that's not nothing to knock any company that has booked me. That's just my decision that what I want to do. They take care of me, and I take care of them. Like I said, the classic alpha that's going to wrestle in a spot that's 20 minutes from here, you're going to get the same quality of work if I'm driving 4 hours to it. Even when I went to Detroit, Detroit is almost the same distance. Shout out to everybody in Detroit. Shout out to everybody. But still, you're going to get the same. So some people say that, like, man, you drive all these hours, man, I at least wrestle for an hour or whatever. That's not required of me sometimes. It's a wrestling business. We got to do things in timely fashions. So sometimes people be like, man, yeah, that do take a long time. Why would you do that kind of stuff? And you better be this and you better be that. I love the sport. I know some people, they get flued out. Yeah, I said it right. Flued out. They get flued out every weekend to wrestle or whatever. Or they drive and things like that. And sometimes that in itself could be, um, it could be, it can be a release. I was trying to find a better word. It can release a lot of things. You're driving, you're thinking about stuff, you're thinking about your life. You may listen to a podcast. Most of the time, I'm listening to people's podcasts. Shout out to RSHAUN and Critically Drinking and Kevin Young Sr. I'm listening to like a lot of their things when I'm driving or and stuff like that. I'm thinking about what am I going to do with certain things, how things are going to go on, or whatever like that. So, um, yeah, it can be tiring too. It can be very tiring, like especially like if it's a late show, man, going home and stuff like that. Trying to keep your eyes on the road and stuff like that, and with the traffic, and then also GPS be tripping and stuff like that. It could happen or whatever like that. But when I make it home safe, I thank God, and we on to the next day, or better yet, on to the next show. I'm gonna read some comments. Wrestling has a way to entertain some people, even when they don't watch it all the time, and that's my thing, Steve. And I've said this before on live, is I try to bring wrestling to people who never seen it, or people who used to see it and they lost interest in it. I'm trying to bring that interest back. Oh, okay, you didn't like what happened on TV, or maybe you felt that you grew out of it. Sometimes people do these kind of things or whatever. You just got tired of seeing the product. But if you see C3 Ultimate Wrestling Show or anything of a classic Alphas match, you're going to enjoy it. I truly believe that you're going to enjoy it. It may, you're going to have your opinions on it, but I'm going to make sure you get that old thing back when it comes to wrestling. Robert Brown says, I'd ask you this before. Where you from? No disrespect. I'm from Texas, Beaumont, Texas, to be exact. Big Money, Texas, BMT, south of Houston. Um, I've been there since for 18 years, and then I moved up here to Indiana. Uh, Knowing that I'm a wrestler, and with Texas and Texas having big wrestling history, I'm proud to be from that Lone Star State. Um, I'd wish to wrestle there one day. Hopefully, Lord willing, this year. I want to wrestle in the state that introduced me to wrestling. I do wish that especially my great grandfather was here. to see it because he was the reason why I started wrestling. And I got a lot of family out there. They know that I wrestle. They ask me for certain things or whatever. So I do want to at least wrestle in front of my family in Texas. My mom, my dad, my step parents, and all of them, they've seen me wrestle one time. My dad flew out and saw me wrestle one time as well. So that's definitely something that I want. I want to wrestle in the state of Texas. Yeah, man, Mario Kart, man. Them roads don't be salted, bro. So like, we was literally driving, and then they was they was driving on the right side, and then they turned facing me, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna drive a little slow. They were doing the driving spinneroonie. That's scary. Yeah, with Wisconsin though, like when I drive, it be straight shots there when I hit the state line of Wisconsin. So sometimes people will take that risk and start driving fast because they know it's a beeline to wherever they go. Like almost every spot I go, Neenah, Appleton, Winneconne, it's like two main roads that's like about 80 miles each, right? So some people are comfortable with that. Unfortunately, that person's car was not comfortable between the tractions of the wheels and and the snow. Like I said, blue shell from Mario Kart. Think about NFL players fly hours and hours and might not even hit the field, but they practice. Exactly. That's a good point. And that's even WWE. WWE, they a lot of wrestlers, and I talked about why I don't want to wrestle there because of the travel and stuff. And you be there for a few hours and got to fly somewhere, got to drive somewhere else, and things like that. You may not even wrestle that day. So yeah, that's a great comparison and stuff like that. And me, I like just being on Earth. I'm not scared to fly, but I like being on the earth for sure. EARF, earth. If I may ask you, thinking of doing a Devon like angle. Oh, you talking about Rev Devon? Nah, I personally won't do nothing like that. I think it's too much blasphemy going on. So I wouldn't personally do it. I try to be careful, especially being older now. I definitely try to be careful with even the content that I watch and stuff because sometimes it is coming from a comedic place, but at the same time, I do think it's like a heavy mockery, and it'd be like, okay, like you're going too far. Like sometimes when how somebody could say a joke like, oh well, your forehead big or whatever like that, but it's like almost every time you see them, they say it or it's a small thing. Then it'd be like, okay, well you feel like it sounds like you got something to prove. Like now you just trying to go for the juggler every time. You have ill intentions with that. So I wouldn't do nothing like that. I've met a guy who does it. He's okay with it, but it's not personally something that I would dive into or even do. Like I said, being a representation of the faith is very important to me, and mocking it that deep is crazy. But um, I'm gonna let me see. He has Arshawn. You have some good questions, but let me see. All right, here we go. I like this one because this is something that I've been preaching about for a lot. I know a lot of people get mad at me. I know a lot of wrestlers get mad at me when I say this, but I'm gonna say this one too. Is there wrestling insurance? No. Should you get insurance? Yes. Whether it be your job, marketplace, or just finding insurance. There's commercials on YouTube now. They're saying that people are paying $25 a month to have insurance. I recommend if you are a wrestler or you are a manager or you are anything that have anything to do with wrestling, please get insurance. Listen, GoFundMe's very popular when it comes to injuries and very popular when people want to get flued out somewhere. But sometimes, most of the time, people will not get their goal, and worse, some people will not even donate. And that's not, I don't even think it's a personal thing. I mean, with this economy going on, like people trying to save and got things they got to do themselves. So I always tell people, like, please get insurance. Shout out to him. He had a lady, a representative, come in, and she was promoting the insurance, saying that she would help and stuff like that. Some people went into it, some people did not. It's a very dangerous game out there to hurt yourself because sometimes your job won't cover an injury that you didn't do on the job, and that's happened to some people. Some people be like, okay, well, you tell your job you mess your knee up the rest, and be like, well, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Now you got to figure it out. And not knocking anybody that does GoFundMe or nothing like that. I'm just hoping that people are more prepared for injuries and certain things like that, because sometimes your job, even your job, like they won't honor that because it's not an on-site injury. It's a wrestling injury. It's something that you did in your leisure time or whatever like that. So I think that's very important. GoFundMe's can help, but sometimes they don't, because some people won't even give you a dime for your injuries because they'll be like, you decided to do that. And to be honest with you, rightfully so. I mean, hey, look, when I lace up the boots and I put the stuff on and I'm classic alpha, whatever like that, I got to make sure I try to make a great show and make it home safe, driving hours away and stuff like that. And I'm thankful that I haven't had any serious injuries since that knee injury that I've had, that I've talked to y'all about years ago. But other than that, yes, I encourage people to try to find the kind of insurance, affordable insurance. If you're one of these wrestlers that got gear every day, or you got wrestlers that got merch and all kind of stuff, if you say you got all this content and all these views and stuff like that, you got to invest in insurance. Investing in yourself is very beneficial to wrestling. Now, I'm not just saying merchandise and stuff, but also insurance. So please get the insurance. But there's no thing to being like there's something that just covers straight wrestling insurance, especially on our level of wrestling. I know WWE has their own doctors, AEW has their own doctors, other organizations and stuff. They have sports trainers and things like that. But for us, God forbid, if somebody has an injury, the best thing we can do is probably try to help them and then call the ambulance, unless people are trained. Some, which is funny. Some wrestlers are like nurses or stuff like that, and certified with certain things. It's funny, man. Wrestlers, yeah, you'd be surprised, but still, that'd be like the best thing that we can do. The only insurance that we mess with outside of health is venue insurance to make sure none of the fans get hurt. But other than that, yeah, there's no technical wrestling insurance for people. You have to get health insurance and paying it. I understand that. Like I get uncomfortable with God jokes at times. Yeah, it definitely can be like uncomfortable, especially it can be uncomfortable from both sides. If you don't believe, I can understand it being uncomfortable. But then even the believers be like, dog, why did you say that and stuff like that? And then sometimes I try to be careful with things that I say because I'm not trying to have a mockery or a joke. I know a lot of people try to hide behind, well, God and Christ has a sense of humor and stuff like that, but it's just like, you can't. That's in the same file as God knows my heart when you be doing some crazy stuff. God knows your heart, but you physically doing unrighteous and wicked stuff. It makes no kind of sense. But like I said, the older I'm getting older now, it's like now stuff that used to be funny to me, it's not as funny anymore. It's just like, or maybe it's just a spiritual maturity and stuff like that. Because my son, my oldest one, he's 16, and he'll look at something and be like, "That's not funny," or he don't like it, or whatever like that. So that's just how it is to me. Let's see. Oh, and don't forget W. Yeah, it's a lot of things when it comes to like traveling and stuff. If I may ask, how's your family? Oh, everybody doing good. We good. We keep it warm because it's very cold outside or whatever like that. But we're very good. We are at a good place. We be trying to have like themes of the year. Like last year was just like, if it's not fruitful to us, we're not gonna mess with it. We're not gonna try to sow into something that's a dead situation. So we've been doing that kind of stuff. So our family is good. I hope your family is great too, Rob. What's your ultimate dream match stipulation? This is funny because RSHAUN, he definitely asks like what are some dream matches and what stipulation. I'm not even gonna lie to you. A lot of the guys that I'm trying to find ways to go against, a lot of the guys who I would quote unquote have a dream matchup with. The board did their thing for me going against Nick Diamond because he definitely was on the list. I was on his list too, and there's other things that I'm trying to do and trying to have because, like I said, I try to make my matches a dream match. I want people to look at my matches and be like, man, I ain't know we needed this match that bad. That's what I try to do. I try to do these kind of things. I've had tag matches, I've had cage matches, I've had monsters brawl matches, I've had last man standing matches, um, triple threats, multi 4 ways, 5 ways, 6 ways. I've had a whole bunch of matches and things like that. Yeah, I don't really have like a dream match stipulation, but like I said, I try to treat almost every match that I have as a dream match, as in you're going to get 100% of Classic Alpha. Absolutely, with the medical insurance thing. Yes, and like I said, sometimes it falls on deaf ears, but it's the truth. And people be like, "Well, I don't have a job or I don't have this." It's like you got to invest. You have to go into it thinking like you're going to hurt yourself more and be broker. Like you're going to be broker if you do not have your insurance and stuff like that. Like I said, GoFundMe's are not that successful to certain things. Manager of the year so far, Brett Duffy. What is going on with you, sir? Hope all is well. Doing an Ask a Wrestler um segment. A lot of people are asking questions and leaving comments. So if you want to, feel free. I will answer to the best of my abilities. Hope everything's great. Do you know the next time you going live? I try to go every Wednesday, but this may be my last live for this week. I'll still do car vlogs like I always do. Next week, next Wednesday, I'm going to try to do the media press for 15 to Takeover because that show is next weekend, not this weekend, the weekend, you know. So trying to get everybody together so we can do what we do. Like I said, this is the thing where I wish kids could look at it, but sometimes people get emotional and they go crazy. So next Wednesday, not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday coming up, definitely we're going to try to do the media thing. We're trying to get as many wrestlers as we can to get on and talk about their match and promote anything they have going on. Alpha says he wants to fight Candice LeRae. Nah, I do not want to fight the Poison Pixie. I don't even care for intergender matches. If one of y'all asks me why I don't really care for intergender matches like that, I don't mind answering it because I've did this before. I've even brought my wife, who I've faced in an intergender match in one. We talked about why we're not big fans of them. Yeah, RSHAUN, very funny, sir. Very funny. Are you gonna let your 16-year-old wrestle not if they want to when he's 18? um, he doesn't. I don't think he has a desire to, and that's fine. You know, I know that as a father, sometimes we do want our kids to follow in our footsteps when it comes to certain things of what we do physically. But if anything, I want him to follow in the footsteps of me being a follower, and he does a great job with it. He tells me how much he prays. He has books that he reads, and he keeps notes, and he talks about his favorite verses and things like that. I wasn't like that at 16. So, you know, his faith was strong. Not saying my faith, I didn't have any faith at 16, but at 16, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about playing a video game all day and hanging with my cousins and stuff like that. But he takes time to read the Bible and stuff like that. So he's doing this at 16. You know, some of his friends get inspired by him. And it's just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to see the joy on my oldest son's face when his kids give Christ a try. And when it comes to the wrestling thing, if he wants to, it'll be cool. If I had to train him, I will train him to be better than Classic Alpha. That's just how it is for me because I know what I want, and I'm sure what he wants will be a little different when it comes to that. But yeah, if anything, I do think my second son Cameron will probably try to be a wrestler. He's only 9 or whatever. Even Samaya, my little baby, I don't know, but my oldest, I don't know. So, um, my dream match would be a street fight match, but not with the glass, but with pound for pound shoot fights though. Yeah. Real glass, Crimea River. No, I'm just playing. Cool. I like street fights and I don't like street fights because street fights can be put in with death matches and stuff like that. And to me, it's two different things. I try to keep my comments and opinions low on death matches, but I have talked about them because people do try to lump street fights, and no holds barred, and stuff with death matches. And death matches usually have a lot to do with light tubes more than anything, and other stuff. And it can be some nasty work. And low key, those are the things that go viral that make people not care about what I do as family friendly content because people will look at death matches and be like, oh, well, that's what you represent. They'll put it all together. So, um, manager of the year, honored also on one on the year. So my each own worst wrestler of the year. Uh, that's fine. It happens, bro. Larkin and Atlas. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I literally, and I be telling people, I be like, hey, man, try to keep it G, man, because kids could be looking at it. I'm working with school sometimes and all of that, and then all of a sudden, Larkin just came in and he like emptied the clip. He screamed "Thug Life" and emptied the clip, and I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So yeah, they don't like each other. Okay, the comments. Only 2 weeks. Yes, sir. Shout out to you, Jamie, and everything you continue to do. Thank you for the great pictures that you take for not only just C3, but for other wonderful companies as well. Some intergender matches are okay, but does it take, but it does take. Honestly, if psychology was in it, it'll work. That's why I did guys versus gals with Sensational Shape, my wife, because I don't like the landscape of a lot of them. You know, some women are world champions or heavyweight champions now, and I just don't like the aesthetic. I don't think it's aesthetically like, something serious because of the matches that happen. Because most of the time the women wrestle the same way when they're going against the men. Eventually they'll try to do a German. Like it's like the same. They rehash it. Not all, but most of them they rehash it, that she's going to try to do a German, and then eventually she does the German. Then she's throwing them around. Then she's power bombing them. Then she's power driving him, and then it's like becomes easier and stuff like that, like hulking up. So that's one of those things, and then just the believability is just crazy. I blame Brian Cage for it because Brian Cage is like this big dude, and then he do crazy stuff, but he go viral and he made money off of it. So hey, it is what it is. Are we gonna ever see your wife in the ring again? Um, I don't know. Um, I think that, like I said, and I tell her all the time, I do think that if she would have just stayed with wrestling, she'd be one of the top women because the mind that she has for wrestling is impeccable. However, she has her own things that she want to do, and I support what my wife wants to do. If she doesn't want to put the boots on and wrestle, that's definitely fine. You get what I'm saying? So, like I said, I think she did a lot of work with helping me get into the business and stuff like that, learning from people who trained her. And I take everything that they do real serious and what they left me because that's something that's a legacy build, right? And legacy is very important. So, um, go back to the questions. Questions. Let me see what else. All right, I like this one too. How difficult is starting/running your promotion? This is a good question, and I'm going to say this real quick. What I say right now out of my mouth and through this microphone that goes to everything, I'm going to say it like this. What I'm about to say is I'm not about to basically say this in a form of complaining and or I don't want people to think that I'm asking for sympathy, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Because some people be like, oh, I got to do this and I got to do that. These are choices that I want to do. Okay. So I decided to do these kind of things. I'm not asking for pity. I'm not asking for none of that. So I wanted to say all of that before I answered it. Running a promotion can be fun and it can be her. I'll just say it like that. It can be her. Um, because it's not just picking a date and also having a show. It's also asking for people's availability. It's also asking about if a venue is available for that, especially if it's a popular venue. So that's one of those things that can like be a little, I don't want to say stressful, but it can be like tedious trying to make sure people can make it. The show is there. The location is good because location is very important. I know a lot of people are very happy when they have an opportunity to run somewhere new, but still, you have to make sure people know about the event, especially if it's an event that's an area where other wrestling events happen. So if other events happen, most people are probably will be loyal to that company, and there's nothing wrong with that. But still, that makes the burden a little bit heavier on you as far as running a promotion. Me being in the Midwest, there's a lot of people that runs promotions, and shout out to them and everything that they continue to do. You get what I'm saying? But with C3, even with the board doing what they're doing board things, um, you try to make the best of it. Last show, Enter the Limelight was the first show in Dyer, Indiana. Shout out to Harold's Private Venue, great chicken and everything. And a lot of people had positive stuff. They're like, man, we will come back to this. It's a good spot. It's a good area, man. It's just down the street and stuff like that. It works. It's more accessible compared to Crown Point. And I love working at Crown Point too. It's a great community there and stuff like that. And I like to work in Hammond. But those are the things that are important in too as well. As far as like wrestlers availability, I can't have a wrestling company without the wrestlers. So we have to make sure that they are there so we can make this magic. You get what I'm saying? So those are the things of it. Obviously, like budgeting and certain things and promotion, these are things that I won't complain about as far as like promotion and stuff because it's the company that me and my wife wanted to have and run. You get what I'm saying? I can't sit here and be like, woe is me because of the situation. You get what I'm saying? So it's fun. I have more fun than I am more stressed. If any quote unquote stress happens, it's the show date because trying to make sure everybody's together so we can set up and tear down. Like I always pride ourselves in being a pop-up wrestling shop. Whereas we come in, we set up, we have our show and tear down. Some people it takes them a while to set up. It takes them hours and stuff like that to set up. We are blessed to be able to just put ring and chairs and then we can make magic with that. Others they have a harder time or they try to get it together. No shade, but these are things that I've seen. So like Mr. Brooks said, never say never, but don't hold your breath. I think you asked me this last time, David. I'll speak about it briefly, only because me and Shay are going to do a video about it. Um, I just wanted to start a company. That's the best. That's the base of it. And she said, "Do it," and that's what it is. Like I said, I don't want to speak more on it. I'm going to speak on it when me and her find the time to speak about it because it's not just my company, it's also her company as well. Because her insights are what keep us going as well. Her dedication, her sacrifice, things that she's done, you know, um, working overtime and stuff and trying to get things together, helping out as much as she can and things, and helping other people get opportunities. So I want to make sure she's here to also speak about it as well. Yeah, no problem, bro. No problem, bro. It's something that we're supposed to been doing, but like I said, I was in a rut with doing lives and stuff that I just wasn't doing any lives. So it's okay, bro. Let me see how many more questions for Marshawn. It's like I said, it was only a few. Okay, I got this. Favorite wrestling company and why? My favorite wrestling company is C3 Ultimate Wrestling. Even though I'm going through some trials and tribulations, C3 Ultimate Wrestling is one of my favorites because it's something that me and my wife put together through the grace of God. There's other companies that I like. I like Now That's Wrestling. That's where I wrestle at. United Wrestling Front was dope. True Privilege Wrestling was dope. Frontline Pro was dope. Black Wrestlers Matter is dope. There's a lot of other companies that I keep an eye on to watch. I like their content and stuff like that. I know like Ashe Wrestling is like a big thing or whatever like that. I look at stuff on TV like WWE, like now Raw's on Netflix. So I haven't watched Raw for like over 10 years. So I've watched two live Raws the last 2 weeks and gonna watch it tonight. AW has moments that I'll watch that I am intrigued about. But yeah, a lot of great wrestling companies and stuff like that that I watch, keep an eye on, or I wrestle for, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. So I will answer it that way. How do trying to make sure because he had more questions, but I did not put it on the ticker, so I'll check. If you guys have any questions that are currently online, just send it and I'll answer it to the best of my abilities. I'm looking in my messages to see other questions that RSHAUN left me because he left a lot. And that's not saying that as a complaint. Definitely not a complaint. Okay. He has said, how do family, friends, and coworkers respond when they find out you wrestle? That's a okay. So with this is they are most of them they say why. They'll be like, why? Why did you do this? Like out of all things to do, why don't you do this? Like, are you getting paid? How much are you getting paid? Are you getting paid that much? Oh man, maybe you need to do something else. You're gonna feel that when you get older, which may be true, but still, it's some of them are shocking. And like I said earlier, it's like when some of my coworkers, when I invite them to a wrestling show, they'll say, "Oh well, we didn't know anything about it." And to me, having a wrestling company, I'm definitely like, "Oh well, I'm gonna make y'all know about it. Y'all gonna know about this and how important it is." And a few of them are actually coming to the show February 1st. So shout out to them. So I'm grateful for that. But like when I told my mom and my stepmom and them, they definitely had their reservations about wrestling. They had their reservations about it, like, oh my gosh, like why would you do that? And oh, you gonna do that? Not my baby, not my baby, not my baby. And I'm 6'1", 270 something, but not my baby. They always see me as their baby or whatever like that. As far as my father figures and stuff like that, they were definitely fine with it. And I spoke about when my younger brother passed. Shot T, he did a show where the money went to my niece, my brother's, daughter, and my family flew out from Texas here, and it holds dear to my heart. And it also showed me that people will show up when they want to show up when it comes to certain things. Nothing against nobody out here, but I had a lot of people that say that they're gonna show up to a show, they down the street and they never show up. My parents, they flew all the way out here to see me wrestle, and my other parents and stuff. So that's the kind of things, like, as a wrestler, we cherish, because sometimes people do let us down. It'll be like, hey, we gonna show up, and then they don't show up. Oh, I forgot, or I thought it was this and that. I thought it was next week. These are the kind of things that do happen. But we cool, and I'm grateful for that. Like I said, I am trying to get more people to understand that they should not miss a C3 Ultimate Wrestling show. They should not miss a Classic Alpha match. They should subscribe to the Take It Home podcast, which is in this corner. They should look at some great wrestling or hear about great wrestling topics from somebody who respects the business. So sometimes, and they'll ask, hey, how's the wrestling going or whatever. Or they'll ask, could I send things? Can I send merch? Can I send a picture? And I don't mind doing that kind of stuff. I got nieces and nephews that like that I wrestle. I got cousins that like that I wrestle. You get what I'm saying? So that keeps me going as well as a Classic Alpha. David says, do you feel like independent companies are lacking anything, or what could they make better? That's a good question. Um, I think with independent companies, including my own, is that we have to realize that we basically have to get it out the mud. And I think that some people get it out the mud quicker, and some people may not ever get that. And I think that's just the realization of what we do as independents or whatever like that. To me, I have dreams and aspirations for C3 Ultimate Wrestling to the point to where it's going to happen, and I know it's going to happen. And sometimes it's learning when to move and learning when to be still can be very difficult and stuff like that, because if you're looking at everybody else, they're getting their own stuff, their own blessings, and it may be quicker than yours, but you still have to focus on you. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you'll miss your blessing turning around looking at somebody else's blessing. You know what I'm saying? And that's just not something that I want to do. Can we want to be better, we want to do better and stuff like that, and we will do that, Lord willing, and stuff like that. It's not a race, but it is somewhere you do have to pace. That's a bar right there. So that's just one of the things. With being independent wrestlers, you do have to, and a company, you have to promote. And that's like one of those things that we've done pretty good and pretty decent, and putting the money in to promote. It's different now with social media. I come from like the last of an era where people had to get together with flyers and pass out flyers at stores, at the mall, at Walmart, and at a whole bunch of other stuff, or you had to sell a certain amount of tickets if you wanted to even wrestle. Like I come from that era. Like I'm the last of that era. It was like, hey, if you want to get paid, you have to sell a certain amount of tickets, or you got to bring a certain amount of people and things like that. With social media, it's a lot better because people are millionaires off of what they say and the content that they have. And some wrestling companies, they got big and they got important and stuff like that through social media because people like the content that they had. So if anything, I would say just utilize social media the best way that you can. And I'm doing this now on my channel, the Take It Home podcast, where I talk about the wrestling company and I also talk about myself as Classic Alpha. Those are two brands, or three brands that I'm trying to elevate. I got merch. Classic Alpha merch. You can get you a shirt, bars. Just got some C3 Ultimate Wrestling shirts that's coming in. I got other kind of merchandise and stuff like that for the Take It Home podcast. I'm trying to get that stuff off of it. So consistency is the biggest thing. Social media is a good tool, but at the same time, man, it can hurt feelings, man. You think that you're gonna get a lot of views, and then you edit it. It took you 5 to 6 hours to edit, and you don't have it. Don't make yourself that vulnerable where you go online and you get mad at people for not being interested into your content. It happens. I know people that are like that. I can't stand when I look at somebody on live and then they start dissing people. They'll have three people and be like, oh nah, y'all boring. I ain't doing nothing. Nah, you're the person that's supposed to bring something that piques people interest. And that's how I see it as far as that. Even with wrestling, with independence, the only problem I see sometimes is that they book the same people and they have the same matches. I've talked about the Ricochet and the Will Ospreay stuff when they went viral when they wrestled in New Japan. Then after that, almost all these other companies book both of these guys to do the same match. Hopefully, they got their money's worth. But other than that, still try to be consistent and try to be different, but also try to be entertaining at the same time. Some can be difficult at times. ARC3 is one of the best. Yeah, they are something else, and C3 is something else in its self. But for sure, I'll probably answer a few more questions, and then we'll probably be out because I gotta cook. Let me check what RSHAUN says real quick. Okay, I like this one. He says, "Why is it called Take It Home?" I'm actually gonna put up Pioneer Road. I actually want to keep this. Why is it called? 1 second, y'all. All right, good question. So it is called the Take It Home podcast because in wrestling, when it's someone says take it home, that means get to the finish, which means get straight to the point. And that's what I try to do with a lot of my content with wrestling content is I know a lot of people they say some small things. Some people they'll say about like I always say if nobody tells you that they love you. Remember, God love you, Christ love you, and I love you. And I talk about certain things. And some people then they feel like I take too long to get to the point. I remember it was a few comments about it. Bless them with love and peace. But what I do is I try not to like have a 10-minute video and then within 8 minutes of the video I go into my opinion or why I say I don't like this. I know a lot of things are very clickbaity when it comes to clicks because they try to keep their main thing at the end because after a certain amount of seconds, let alone minutes, you're going to get that view, and that's what people want to do. I don't do that. Usually, after I give my intro, I'm going straight into the point. Why I like this, why I don't like this, why I went through this, why I support this, why I don't like that. That's what I try to do. I go straight to the point. So that's what I try to do with certain things, and I get more straight to the point when I do YouTube Shorts. You get what I'm saying? When I do YouTube Shorts, I go straight to the point because you only have a few seconds. Now I know that YouTube Shorts are like 3 minutes long now. I ain't trying to do all that. So that's why it's called the Take It Home podcast because we go straight to the point. When I interview wrestlers, we go straight to the point. Why did you wrestle? How long you been wrestling? What are you trying to do with that? Who's your dream opponent? What was the worst thing? What was the best thing? Straight to the point. Let's take it home. When you're in a wrestling match and you take a long time, sometimes the referee says you got to take it home, and that's what it is. I'm sure it's a term. and other sports and stuff too, like wrap it up. I didn't want to call it the Wrap It Up podcast, but I felt like as soon as like because this podcast happened because I had got injured, that knee injury I was talking about. And what happened was I was like, what am I gonna call it? And I was like, oh man, Take It Home podcast. That sounds good. So you guys know, you see, I'm moving stuff around. I got my like wrestling things in the back, but when you look this way, that's my old banner. You see, over the Marvel stuff and all of that stuff. You see that there's the Take It Home podcast logo and the old C3 Wrestling logo. It's no longer C3 Wrestling; it's C3 Ultimate. So yeah, that's where we're at. Um, when it comes to that, I may get another banner or whatever, but most likely I do see why like a lot of wrestlers they'll be like, man, like this was pretty good. I continue to do that. I know people do these like as episodic as they can about asking a wrestler a question. So, like I said, I do appreciate you guys for spending a lot of time with me. Thank you guys. I'm going to head out because there are some things that's I have to take care of. If there are any other questions, wrestling wise, whatever, message me even on Facebook, and I'll get to it the best way I can. I hope you guys enjoyed the questions that I answered. God bless you guys. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Monday, ML King slash inauguration day slash Raw Netflix. They booed Hogan out the building day. So make sure you get your tickets to 15, the takeover. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. So make sure you get your tickets, man. It's going to be a great show. You do not want to miss the show. Try to get the logo off. You not want to miss the show in Dyer, Indiana. Get your tickets, man. Get your tickets now. It's going to be a great show. But in the meantime, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. This is Chris Classic. Let's take it home.